All right, how are you doing? So I wanted to have a wee chat with you today about how I approach ancient and sacred sites. So since I was last in Egypt, when I had these profound experiences with the light, I have been on this kind of journey. I've always said it's a spiritual quest of sorts, but for me now, I now know it's a quest. That may sound like something out of King Arthur or something, but it's definitely a quest. And something deep inside me is motivating me and driving me to go to these places. But I don't know, the further I go in this journey and the deeper I go, the more I connect with these ancient and sacred sites, the more it kind of opens up my thinking. And I've also started to write a book. No pressure now that I've mentioned it. But putting a lot of my thoughts down on paper is bringing I guess a lot of my feelings of and thoughts in terms of what I experienced in the ancient sacred sites. So when I went to Egypt a couple of years ago, I went to Egypt with these tattoos, the Eye of Horus, the pyramid, Atum Ra, and we got some hieroglyphs there. So something motivated me to kind of mark my skin with these Egyptian tattoos. I've still got no idea why I did it or what was driving me to do it, but something did. And I had these experiences with the light, and as I've always said, I was the last person in the world I thought would have this connection with ancient and sacred sites, but I do, and I have, and here I am talking to you now about it. But again, as I've gone in this journey since then, I began to realize and understand that it was the power of intent. I didn't really have that in my mind at the time when I went to Egypt, that kind of intent or intention, but I must have done, and it's something I've learned since then, is that kind of power of intention. And there's a big difference, when I go to ancient and sacred sites than, say, a tourist visit. And a tourist visit is absolutely fine, you know what I mean? Each to their own. Tourist visit, you go take a few photos, take the kids, and then you're off. You tick that box. But that's a totally different visit to when I go to ancient and sacred sites. When I go, it's a deep spiritual experience. It's a deep sensory experience. But I'm going there with a special type of intent. There's definitely magic, energy, and spirit at these places that, I'm not sure how you best describe that magic, but you're only really gonna, in my experience, you're only gonna experience the magic with that intention, that committed intent. Do you see what I mean? So there's energy there. They're super atmospheric, but to really truly experience the magic of these places, you need to go with intent. So that's a big thing for me, and that intent, I think, can be different for each individual. Certainly when I go to places, well, the first thing I always do when I go to places is I ask for permission. So this is actually something I learned in Egypt from Kathleen McGowan. So whenever I approach a sacred site, I always ask for permission. So I always say, may I approach? I don't know who I'm saying that to, but I'm putting it out there. I'm putting that out into the universe. I'm asking for permission before I approach a sacred site. And I think the other big thing for me is when I go to these places, I always, there is a wee bit of leap of faith with the imagination, the creativity part of our brain. I always talk about this, the kind of left brain, right brain. But I always try and imagine what it would be like there thousands of years ago in that kind of prehistoric, Neolithic time. If you think about it, I guess I could say for the British Isles, back then, the landscape would have been totally different. There was probably more trees. There'd be no division of the land. There'd be no fields or hedgerows. It would have just been kind of landscape. And also there'd probably be more kind of, I don't know, marshes and bogs, and rivers and streams would be probably a lot more, I don't know, less maintained and controlled than they are now. there would probably be more like rocks and boulders from the Ice Age. So I always try and imagine what it would have been like to be there during that time, and I think that's a big thing, is that imagination. It's that type of thinking that when you go to these places, you try and really tune in and imagine what it would be like to be there back then. The big thing for me also is turning up with maybe this is the intent, but turning up with that, you know, that awe, that wonder, that respect, that reverence. You know, it was nature that got me into Megalith. You know, spending time in these forests that are nearby in Sintra in Portugal. It was nature that got me into Megaliths. So I've always had this awe, wonder, respect, maybe a childlike thing with nature, with trees, with rock formations, and I bring that same reverence or awe or wonder when I come to megaliths. I think it's super important to have that mindset, to have that intent when you come to these places. And another thing from my time in Egypt was the light. You know, all these mad photos I've got of the light pointing at me or coming from me when I'm at the pyramids, and it still happens now. And that for me, it's energy. Everything is energy. You know, maybe not even see yourselves as physical beings, as physical bodies, but as energy. Everything is energy. The universe is energy. And that's a kind of view I take when I go to megaliths, in particular stone circles. It's not just a bunch of stones lined up. It's a space. It's a container of energy. It's a cauldron of energy, and within that space, there's magic. There's energy. You know, the stones are deep underground. The quartz is reacting with the electromagnetic currents of the earth and the water. The stones are also pointing to the sky. The stones could be picking up energy from the sun, from, cosmic or heavenly energy. There's, they're kind of like acupuncture needles sticking into the ground. So the stones are more than stones. These are sacred spaces. There is energy in these spaces. So again, when you come there, in terms of the heart and mind that you've got, that's really important, because your energy is coming to these places and it's reacting with this energy that's already there. Again, this to the left brain, right brain, in terms of the logical thinkers or what have you, that might sound a wee bit daft, but you do need to take that leap of faith or that jump in your imagination to really see these places as places of energy, as containers of energy, or cauldrons of energy. And I think many people today are seeking a deeper connection and meaning to life, and maybe that's me myself, in this fast-paced digital broadband technological plastic world we live in. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of nonsense, and nature and megaliths for me are truly authentic. Megaliths for me are about as authentic as you can get. There's zero bullshit to megaliths, excuse my Scottishness. They're just straight down the line, standing still for millennia. Timeless, mysterious, magical places that have stood there for thousands of years. So visiting ancient sacred sites is a great way for me, and I think for a lot of people to connect or reconnect with themselves, but also nature and Mother Earth. And as I've said many times, these ancient people, I think they had that true connection to Earth. They were able to connect with the earth in terms of their energy. I think they were able to feel that mentally, but I also think it was a whole body awareness that they had as well, which I think is why they knew where to build a lot of these megaliths. So I think visiting sacred sites today is as important as it's ever been. And I thought I would share a few thoughts for you now in terms of how I approach nature and ancient sites as opposed to a tourist visit, as it were. There's a massive big difference between a tourist visit, as I've said, and how I visit these sites. And again, as I said, tourist visits absolutely fine. There's no issues with that. But if you want to experience if you're looking for that deeper connection, if you're wanting to experience the magic of these places, then it's as I said, it's coming with intent, it's coming with reverence, it's coming with that sense of wonder. It's understanding that these are places of energy. These are kind of containers of energy. So as I said, everything's energy. So the energy that we bring is super important. So it's having that intent, coming with reverence, awe and wonder, coming with respect, and seeing where it takes you and seeing if the magic happens for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to be putting together a few more wee videos like this. As I said, the deeper I go with this stuff, the greater a connection I get. You know, spending time at these ancient sacred sites is a spiritual, it's a deep sensory experience for me, but it's energizing, and it's definitely opening up my thinking like big time. So I've got lots of these thoughts and ideas. I'm putting a lot of this down on paper in terms of the book I'm writing. So I wanted to start to kind of share some of these wee videos for you. All right, thanks very much for watching. Cheers.